Palace.
We did it just for you,
Republican
obviously.
cares.
Lovely
Republican cares.
He's got a coat. He's overwhelmed with emotion.
That's relief. I'll manage without him. I don't need him.
But other news elsewhere, not least in Washington, the impeachment inquiry hearings, the public hearings getting very interesting today.
Absolutely incredible.
Do you want him to take
I think so. I
So amazing. Trump's ambassador to the EU giving evidence. Now, he's not just any old ambassador. He's a man who gave $1 million to Trump's campaign. He's a cheerleader for Trump. He gave evidence and he completely blew Trump's position out of the water by saying there was a quid pro quo. It's electrifying, frankly, the impeachment hearings. And if Trump is now losing key Republican supporters, you expect the Democrats to make hay here. If this does get to the Senate, where he's got a Republican majority, is he going to start losing Republicans too? It was a devastating intervention.
You can see no end for Trump now. You can't actually see him being impeached because you really would have to lose heavily in the Senate, and they haven't quite got the time before the next election. But suburban America will be watching this, and they're the votes he needs with his base, and he's going to be losing them because he's not been talking up and acting in America's interest. He's like a small town crook, really, making these little property deals.
To get past the quid pro quo, basically he was withholding military aid, i.e. taxpayers' money
to
for his own personal gain, effectively. And to simplify it,
he said that if you want this cash, you want this support, you've got to get...
And a visit to Washington, which is what we were hearing
You've got
today.
to do a proper, serious investigation of what Joe Biden's son has been doing in the Ukraine. Is there any corruption? Essentially, to help his re-election
campaign. And to publicise that point, to publicise the investigation.
It is illegal in the States to involve foreign powers in an election. And that is what he is going to be accused of doing in it. You want to see how he can... Look, when he was bonkers, in his response, when he was just ranting, but you can't see how he can talk his way out of this because the evidence is from his own side, his own supporters, his own donors, his own appointees.
He's a very significant ambassador and very articulate, very powerful.
Yes, and not one of the never-Trumpers, which has been the accusation by the Republicans about other people that the hearing has heard from.
Well, he will be by tomorrow, that's what they say. But, but
I'm just wondering when he's going to get sacked, to be honest with you. He won't be in place
the
long,
ambassador said that it wasn't just Trump who was in the loop. The Vice President was in the loop, so that could drag him down too.
Pompeo, the Secretary of State.
Giuliani. There's a lot of them.
Exactly.
It's like a mafia family.
Yeah, very interesting. But meanwhile, we have an election campaign here, although kind of you wouldn't know it necessarily, apart from The Guardian, which has decided to go on Labour's election manifesto launch.
75 billion for housing, including council housing. Big important issue. Nice red dividing line between Labour and the Conservatives. And it is interesting how the Prince Andrew story is knocking out in a lot of papers off the front. The Lib Dem launch tonight. Briefings on Labour's launch tomorrow. Johnson and National Insurance cuts all going because of this. I remember in 1992, the separation of Prince Andrew from Sarah Ferguson during the campaign. There's about 2 or 3 weeks just before this.
Do you remember that?
Yeah. We're old enough to, I'm afraid. I suppose you're in your pram where you're being pushed by your mother and your father.
Kevin is old. Kevin is old.
But anyway, but I remember if you're Boris Johnson, it suits you because you're ahead in the polls. And it's your opponents who need to make the ground and need the oxygen of publicity. Different now because of social media. So you can